Snipes-n-Snarfblatts, your unauthorized place for Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilm. I'm your host, Jason, and today we'll talk about Black Panther. We just got out last night, had a little time to let it register, but this is really still my first thoughts walking out of this movie. When I walked out of this movie, I looked at my wife and kids, and I told them that I really don't think Marvel can do any wrong anymore. Like, it's starting to seem like they're just getting better and better and better. But they're getting better to the point where they're making this look easy. They're making it look like it is easy to put out great movies. And I'm starting to see why everything else is kind of faltering around them, because the movies they're making are amazing. This one, once again, adds another genre to the mix, where now I like to see what these movies would be if you stripped the superheroes out of them and kind of just made it a movie. And in all honesty, this one feels so complete, because your origin story for Black Panther, and best believe that's what you get. You get an origin story. This picks up right after the king dies. This picks up with him going to pick up the throne, as well as adapt to being the Black Panther in the first place. And it feels like you could strip all Marvelness out of this, and it would be the ultimate fantasy film set in Africa. I mean, that's what it is. It's a fantasy film. It reeks of all those 80s films back in the day with big-time fantasy, except this is on so much of another level. Wakanda shines in this movie. Wakanda has, there's the different tribes of Wakanda. Everything about the land of Wakanda and the areas around it and the tribes is just, it's so deep and rich, and like, that's why this movie feels so much like a movie that could even be picked out of the Marvel Universe and stand alone. Save the cutscenes, which, yes, there are scenes at the end of this movie. There are cutscenes at the end of the credits. There are two, and they are worth watching because one of them is really, really cool and gives you a setup for what's coming next, as usual. But I'm going to go character for character and really get into this. Chadwick Boseman, he's almost too cool to be in movies. He really reminds me of Billy D. Williams back in the day when you saw him as Lando, just sitting there. He's too cool to do this. Every time he's on the screen, he's just that cool. His counterpart in Michael B. Jordan, I'm going to touch on this a little more than the other people because Michael B. Jordan was one of the people I was kind of worried about going into this movie. I noted many times on the website that throughout the previews of this movie, he just didn't seem to belong. His character seemed to stand out. He didn't fit in what I was seeing in the previews. And this kind of shows how you can take previews out of context because you don't know the context, because what I was seeing was right. It was there. But without spoiling anything, it's there for a reason. It's supposed to be there. He's not supposed to fit there. And that's what makes his character so relatable and so great. And that's what's crazy about this movie on both sides. You have T'Challa's side and you have Michael B. Jordan's side. And both sides, they make sense from a certain point of view. Like, they totally make sense. You've got a villain here that you really can identify with, and you can say, oh man, no, he's right. He's 100% right. But then you've got a hero who's got more than a hero. He's a king, so he's looking after a whole nation. And when you take that into consideration and realize the two sides, this movie really has a conflict to it that you can understand from both ends. And I always think that makes for your best stories, because you need that. You need to understand your villain, and I think that's where a lot of the villains in Marvel, they fall off a little bit. They almost go to just your typical villain. You're the bad guy, you're going to take over, you're going to this. You can't side with them because they're crazy, they're megalomaniacal. This guy, yeah, he was a little over the top. In fact, he was a lot over the top, but you could at the same time understand why he was coming, where he was coming from. Anyway, very impressed with both the two leads of this movie. But I go in, hats off to both of y'all. Y'all were amazing. Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan, I can't wait to see more from y'all now, because Michael B. Jordan, you amaze me every time you're on the screen. I am going to stop selling you short now. And Chadwick Boseman, you are the Panther. You are the king of Wakanda. You're just that cool, man. Like, you reek of coolness, and I can't wait to see more out of you too. The show does almost get stole by the women of Wakanda. I can't remember their names. One of them is Napita Nyong'o. I hope I did not destroy that. But her and the other woman who is part of the bodyguards that watch over Black Panther, they're awesome. Oh my god, they're awesome. Like their fight scenes, hands down, best fight scenes in the movie. Like watching them do what they do was amazing. Like there's some points where you start to wonder, man, I wonder if Black Panther could even take his bodyguards. But that's the but back to Wakanda, speaking of which, when it comes to bodyguards, is that's pretty much all your characters. That's the characters that really matter and really shine, except for Ulysses Claw. You know what? I take that back. I'm selling two people really short. Ulysses Claw was amazing. And he's got the guy that plays him, he does all the mocaps. I know he was Smeagol and he was King Kong and he was all that. He's got a big career outside of that because he was great. He was so believable from the time you see him on the screen from the jump. And yes, Claw does have his claw. And yes, it has changed a little bit to fit into the reality that we've made to make it a little more realistic than that big sonar dish you used to see in the comic books. And it's really cool. I loved Claw's character. Like I said, both the villains in this movie were awesome. And Martin Freeman, Ross, Ross, he's a CIA agent. He's great. He has a way bigger part in the movie than I thought him for. Because when I first saw him in there, I was like, oh, cool, the CIA agent's there. It's going to be just to pop up and go. No, he's got a great part, too. He sells it perfect. Freeman's amazing. Like I said, the characters in this movie are great. But I keep wanting to digress and get back to Wakanda. Because to me, the real star of Black Panther and the real interesting thing to Black Panther has always been Wakanda. I love Wakanda. It's an amazing place. And seeing it on screen was everything I was hoping for. The technology, the like super advanced tech stuff they have based on the vibranium that's there is amazing. The costumes, amazing. Not just Black Panther's costumes either. The actual tribal costumes of Wakanda. They were beautiful. Like if this thing doesn't get mentioned one day for how amazing these costumes were in it, then somebody just wasn't paying attention. Because the costumes, the music, Kendrick Lamar's soundtrack, when it did get peppered in, because it is a soundtrack, it's not the score. The score was great. The score was fully just African vibe, like drums. It was amazing. And then you felt Kendrick Lamar, the spots he put in were amazing where he put them in. Because they fit. Like, I mean, you know how soundtracks are usually used. They're used for people getting out of cars. They're used for the club. They're used for casinos. He picked perfect music to pepper through this movie because it gave you a feel for the character every time you heard the music that was playing with the character from the soundtrack. Which that's hard to do when you're just picking modern music and throwing it in left and right. So, good job, Kendrick Lamar. I got to give that out there because it's hard to pick a soundtrack that actually matters. And it's not just a throwaway. And yours felt like it mattered, and the songs were picked and had reason where they were supposed to be. That was really neat. All in all, y'all, this movie blew me away. This is definitely a standalone movie. You don't have to see anything to watch this movie. You don't even have to see Civil War where they set up this movie because they go back over that. This movie totally stands alone. It is, honestly, it's probably one of the best origin stories that Marvel Studios has told so far. And I did not think I was going to say that going in, but this was an origin story that didn't feel like an origin story because it gave you so much and gave you so rich. And the setup for what comes next, the setup for how this affects the Marvel Universe, this movie has a lot of effect on the Marvel Universe. I don't want to get into spoilers and tell you how it ends, but the way it ends and the motions of what happens at the end is so significant to the Marvel world, the world of Earth that's in that Marvel universe, that I can't wait to see the ramifications of what has happened here. Anyway, see this movie. I saw it IMAX 3D. The 3D was amazing. The IMAX, I loved seeing it as big as I could see it. I can't wait to buy this movie and watch it again. Everyone involved did an amazing job in this movie. The effects were great. The new kinetic abilities of the suit were awesome. Like I said, the technology of Wakanda, awesome. I feel like I can't mention that enough. That the Wakandan tech is just so amazing. It's not even funny. And I mean, like I said, all in all, this is a great movie. Suggest this to your friends. Suggest this to everyone. If you don't like Marvel, It doesn't matter. Go watch this movie just in case, because this movie, it stands alone as a movie. It has a very powerful message. It has a couple very powerful messages. And it shows you how easy it is to take the easy way of some messages instead of taking the higher ground. And I love how it does it. I love the way it folds it out. It's very significant to not just this time, but time in general, all time, and how we treat each other on the planet Earth, period. Not just one this or one that, but how we all get along. It's just, this movie, it needs to be seen. And I'm glad it's doing what it's doing. I'm glad it's blowing away the numbers that it's blowing away. And I can't wait for a sequel. Hell, I can't wait for Avengers. I can't believe that we're only months away from the Avengers, in which we're going to basically see the sequel to this movie and even more. So this universe they have created, thank you, Marvel Studios. Thank you, Marvel Studios, for making better and better movies every single time. And that's basically, I mean, I don't have much more to say about this movie. That I would go over dislikes, but I couldn't find anything I disliked in the whole movie. The whole movie just was put together so good that I really am convinced that Marvel can do no wrong, and that from now on they're just going to top themselves, and we're going to just have to expect it until one day something crazy happens, because they're just totally delivering on so many levels. It's not even funny. But yeah, I got a couple other things. Check down in the descriptions. It's where the links to our website, links to Facebook, links to Twitter, links to everything will be. Follow us. Subscribe to these videos. We're going to have a lot more coming than movie reviews this year. And speaking of a lot more coming, I'm kicking off a contest at the end of this video. And the contest will be for lower 48 states only. I'm sorry, everyone international. I don't understand mailing things off yet that well. This is going to be my first taste of it, as this is my first contest. So we'll see what we can mix in there next time. As of right now, this contest will only be for the lower 48 states. That way the mailing stays down, because this is all coming out of my pocket. But I made this shirt. This is Fantastic Four number 52. It is the first appearance of Black Panther. And I made the shirt to wear to the movie. And when I make these shirts for myself, I usually make two, because one of them doesn't work out. Well, in y'all's favor this time, one of them worked out right from the jump. So I have an extra one of these shirts. Like I said, Fantastic Four number 52, first appearance for Black Panther, for the people that aren't total comic book nerds like myself. But I'm giving one of this away. I'm going to ship it to your house. All you have to do is, there's going to be a link in the description right down there to my site. And the site's going to be a special contest link that is put in the Marvel news for Black Panther. And just share that link, or go to the link, obviously. Share that link, like it, and make a comment. And on the day that I write in there that I'm going to check the comments, I will reply to a comment, and you can email me your information, and I will send that random person the extra t-shirt that I made. It even has the little tag, Snipes-n-Snarfblatts, on it, so you can say where you got it from and do everyone a favor. Anyway, thanks for watching. I can't wait to hear from y'all. I can't wait to give away this shirt just to see who gets it. Even I'm excited. Go see this movie. Wakanda forever.